They call it the NBA lottery for a reason. Because some teams will hit the jackpot, and others will be kicking themselves for gambling everything they had on a ticket. In 2023, the Dallas Mavericks were fined $750,000 for tanking by sitting Kyrie Irving and several others of their starters in a game that could have qualified them for the play-in tournament. Dallas wasn't tanking for the worst record in the league. They were just trying to get into the lottery at the 13th or 14th pick. And it was leaked that Dallas actually said that losing might be the best chance they had to improve their team. Yet I find that hard to believe. So let's see what the history of the draft is teaching us about the lottery's ability to actually help you build a championship team. Long story short, does tanking actually work? Because if it doesn't, Dallas just wasted $750,000. To answer this question, I looked at every draft from 2015 to 2019. Because to be clear, NBA rookies in the lottery signed 2-year deals with a 2-year option on the team side. That means any player who was drafted in 2020 or beyond hasn't had a legitimate chance to succeed or fail yet. After those 2 option years are up, an NBA team is forced with a decision. Are you good enough for them to actually pay you to stick around? And if we're being honest, I found out that lottery picks basically fit into 3 categories: the All-Stars, the NBA players, and the bench warmers. And spoiler alert, we know that every team wants an All-Star, but that's probably not gonna happen. At least that's what history is teaching us. Between 2015 and 2019, there were 20 All-Stars selected out of the 70 players who were lottery picks. Let me be very clear about this. If you make one All-Star team, even as an All-Star replacement, as a reserve, you are in that 20. That would mean that D'Angelo Russell, who was an injured reserve replacement, not even for the team that drafted him, he is a success story. But he's joined by players like Ja Morant, Darius Garland, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Devin Booker. And amongst the All-Stars, we all know they're not created equal, because only Devin Booker and Luka Doncic in that time period ever made the All-NBA first team. And if you're picking at the top of the draft, I mean the top 3 picks, your chances of getting an All-Star do go up, because 9 of the 20 All-Stars were in the top 3. If you're picking from 4 on down, you might as well be rolling dice, because Bam Adebayo, Devin Booker, and Donovan Mitchell were all picked either 13th or 14th, the last picks of the lottery. But if you can't get an All-Star, you need to get at least a legit NBA player out of the lottery, right? Because if you don't, it's safe to say that your team's NBA draft grade is an F for failure. Most players don't last very long in the league. So the goal for any team is to draft someone who actually will. A legit NBA player, by my definition, is someone who started at least 40 games in 3 seasons or more during their career. To account for injuries, any player who averaged 15 points per game or more twice in their career will also make the cut. Yet the lottery has a lot of players who won't even make the cut for this list. Only 20 NBA players were in the lottery from 2015 to 2019. Ironically, that's the same number of players who were All-Stars. These NBA players range from Miles Turner in 2015 to RJ Barrett, Tyler Hero, and DeAndre Hunter in 2019. It doesn't really matter where these players are drafted. All that matters is that they were in the lottery and you had to snatch them up before somebody else did. Or you can be thankful that people left them alone until your turn came around. Buddy Hield and Jamal Murray went 6th and 7th in their 2016 draft class. Which is funny, because some of the teams that drafted right before them Sure wish they took them over the other guys they actually got. And the truth is that the remaining 30 players drafted in the lottery are bench warmers. To be clear, these are players who never started at least 40 games in 3 seasons throughout their NBA career. Some of them didn't even warm the bench well enough to stay in the league. They're in the G League or overseas right now. Some bench warmers hang around the league, but all that matters is that they don't really play that much. They normally play the most in the first few years they were drafted, because teams don't know whether they're good or not yet. After they get traded for the first time, or they don't get re-signed by the team that drafted them, they just bounce around the league from there, because they're the type of guys that you just throw into a trade to make the money work. Bench warmers are all over the lottery, even within the top 3 picks, because Marvin Bagley III and Jahlil Okafor technically qualify as bench warmers. If you look around the G League right now, you will find some lottery picks, because Willie Cauley-Stein, Emmanuel Mudiay, and Jarrett Culver are all in the G League right now. In fact, in the 2015 draft, only Miles Turner was an NBA player, alongside 4 All-Stars, which means the other 9 players who were drafted in the lottery were bench warmers. You can tank if you want to, because draft picks come cheap and they can get you a lot of production really fast. But unless your scouting department is really good at their jobs, there is no way to know what you really get when you draft in the lottery. If you don't have a top 3 pick, your chances of getting an all-star drop down to about 20%, and your chances of getting a bench warmer are more than 50%. The Thunder drafted Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden 3 years in a row. So the lottery brought them 3 future NBA MVPs, and ironically, no championships to show for it. But the Sixers got Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. But that was after years of tanking, with what they called the process. You can trust the process if you want to, but betting on tanking to actually help your team win NBA games in the future is legitimately the same thing as gambling. And if you pick wrong, somebody's gonna get fired over it. Let's hope Mark Cuban and the Dallas Mavericks know what they're doing, because they're sure enough not in the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes this year. And their chance of drafting another bench warmer is way more likely than even getting a starter for their team. But of course, that is why they call it the lottery. The only thing we know for sure is that there will be winners and losers. May the odds be ever in your favor. I'm Coach Rob, and thank you so much for watching this video. And if you want to see more content like this, then please like and subscribe.